Thanks, everybody. I don't get to come to Florida enough, and I really wish I could be there today with you in person. I know this is the next best thing, and so let's enjoy the time together. And this has been an awesome conference, and I hope you guys will have me back sometime in the future. So let's get started. So I'm going to talk about how can autonomous trucks save our roads. This has been a team effort by folks at Oklahoma State, Penn State, and UNC Charlotte. And why does this apply to you? Because in your state, you're doing some amazing things. You've got some amazing visions going on with something called M-Course. And Amy and I were talking about M-Course. She saw me talk about this at a previous conference, and we were just like, man, this is so cool. You guys are talking about freight train, you're talking about vehicles, you're talking about people, you're talking about the environment. Look at this, you got mountain lions over here. You guys are talking about mountain lions. That's amazing. We're like, where are the trucks? Where are the trucks? And I know they're in there. I know they're in the plan, but I think they need to be a more prominent plan, or at least be shown in your images, of course, right? So the day before something is a breakthrough, it's a crazy idea. And I know you guys are dealing with this with the M-Course. There's lots of stuff you need. You know, you need lots of, you've got some crazy ideas, and you need some breakthroughs. Lots of people are like that in the world. And Bert Raton said that, and he was talking about he was actually talking about big things like space exploration, like going to the moon. I mean, that was a long time ago, and you're like, man, that must have taken forever. I mean, that was such a huge thing for our nation and inspired generations of people. But actually, if you look back in the history, you know, about 7 years before that, they had no space programs. You know that? No space program whatsoever. John F. Kennedy gave a talk at Rice University, and he said that we're going to go to the moon. He had the vision. He had the vision to make this happen, that this is a strong enough thing we needed to do, that he pulled the rest of the nation to make that happen. That vision did, that strong vision, but also his checkbook, right? The government paid for it. They made it happen. And you guys have that same vision in Florida. You're making amazing things happen. But why did Kennedy do this? Well, actually, at the time, he said, we're going to go to the moon not because it's easy, but because it's hard. Well, that's not quite right. I mean, Kennedy was actually in the middle of the space race. We were actually competing with the Russians, and we don't have the Russians we're competing with anymore. Now we're talking about the Chinese, and I'll come back more about this at the end of the call. Believe it or not, all this ties in. But you're doing M-Course, and so I'm going to talk about what is the future of highway infrastructure. Jim gave us some great talk earlier, and I'm going to tie into his things as well. But we have to think about these extreme events and what we need our infrastructure to do for us. But we need solutions that create money. Yes, create money, reduce traffic, improve safety, improve sustainability, and then also create our long-lasting roads. And I'm tired of looking at images like this. I'm tired of people showing images of trucks going over roads that are beat up, that have massive holes in it. I'm tired of people telling me how bad my grade is for my infrastructure. I'm tired of people telling us how much money we need to be spending versus what we're spending right now. I'm just tired of this. We need a new approach. So freight trucks are critical to our highway infrastructure. They are massively important vehicles. Did you know that freight trucks they travel more than 140 billion lane miles in the United States every single year? They carry more than $9.1 trillion in goods. That's about 50% of our gross domestic product. Holy cow, they're critical vehicles. But did you know all of our highways are designed based on truck traffic? All of our bridges are designed based on truck traffic. There are calculations that show that 90% of the damage that are done to our bridges and highways are from 18-wheelers, heavily loaded 18-wheelers. So they're important vehicles. These vehicles are also responsible for 7% of our CO2 emissions. Yeah, because they run diesel fuel and they're big beasties. And we'll talk more about that coming up in just a second. They're involved in more than 9,000 highway deaths and incapacitations. Oh my gosh, but only 15% of these deaths and incapacitations are to the drivers of the truck. What? That means when these trucks have accidents, they put in many people around them in danger. That's just what they do. They're kind of big. So have you ever been in this situation? You're driving, you got trucks on the left, you got trucks on the right, you just feel trapped. Oh, I know. That's kind of what it's like to be around these things. They're just so big and tough. But you know, the trucking industry, they have problems as well. And I believe if you can get a solution that solves enough problems, you got a chance to make it happen. So let's talk about their challenges. Number one is their truck drivers. You know, they actually don't have enough of them. It's tough to keep them. 93%, there's a 93% annual turnover rate for long haul truck drivers. 93% annual turnover rate. That's not for all industries, but that's the average for the industry. More than 30% of our long haul trucking companies are understaffed with drivers. They would love to hire more. The average operational cost for a truck is $1.59. 30% of that or so is from fuel. About another 30% is from driver pay and benefits, and the rest is from tires and tolls and maintenance on the truck. Fuel costs, yeah, 50 cents a mile. That's what they pay because they only get 6 miles per gallon. They still are paying 50 cents a mile to these drivers. So one solution to this is autonomous vehicles. Tesla's working on this. They're not the only one. There's many companies out there that have some version of an autonomous truck that they're working extremely hard on, because there's a lot of people that want a solution to this. And this level of automation is something that many people are challenged with. You know, I don't know about you, but when I started to drive cars, this is the level of automation I had. Nothing at all. And this is where people want to get to, where you can read and drive. But the industry is stuck right here in the middle. Why? Well, they have cars that can do this. But the problem is to have these robots drive with people is really tough, because people are crazy. They're crazy drivers, and you have to design these robots for the most extreme cases, for things that you might never ever expect to see happen. They can happen, and they have to be ready for them. And that's why we're stuck here in the middle. Another huge challenge is traffic. Massive challenge to the trucking industry. More than $63 billion per year are lost through the trucking industry and the retail industry because of traffic. These are big problems, big numbers we're actually talking about here. Let's see. So in summary, let me go up here. In summary, our economy needs these trucks. They're essential. We have to have them, but they create challenges for our roads, our safety, our environment, and the trucking companies. They don't have enough drivers, and autonomous trucks are not yet approved to drive with other humans. And there's traffic-related days are costly. They're costly to everybody, but especially to trucks. So what if we could create a dedicated truck corridor, We've designed it to be long lasting, resilient, so Jim will be super happy, more than 100-year design life. What if we could separate these trucks from other vehicles? Because if we separate them, the robots can drive with other robots, and they can do that. They don't have the craziness of humans to deal with. What if the trucks could be constantly powered with overhead electrical lines? We could monitor them continuously. I'll show you more about this coming up. What these trucks then could travel at very high speeds, and they could not have to stop for fuel. And electric batteries on the truck, on these trucks, could be charged, so the trucks could still travel once they leave the corridor. So they're there. Once they have to exit, they would run on the power that's already on the truck itself. So I know this is strange. I talked about lots of weird stuff. Let's see pictures. I'm a visual person. Maybe you are too. This is what it looks like. This is what it could look like. We have these trucks, the autonomous trucks. They run on overhead power lines. They are connected to the power lines. That's how they're powered. Now the power lines could go down or up. It doesn't have to be connected constantly. You might say, wow, whoa, cool. Is this even possible? Well, these overhead power line connections are used today right now in trains, right? From one place to another. Every single day, very common technology. There's actually trucks that exist out there right now that can run on these overhead power lines. So this isn't just totally science fiction. So there are benefits out the wazoo. There's faster and more reliable delivery times. I mean, what if you get your Amazon Prime stuff even faster? We're talking like same day delivery, couple hour delivery. There's be less traffic, improved safety, less greenhouse gases, longer lasting roads. Oh my gosh, this is possibles. This is gonna be exciting. But again, this is things we talked about before, the challenges. Our economy, they depend on trucks. Well, this ATC can decrease their cost, the truck cost, by more than 25%. We can decrease delivery times by a factor of 2. Trucks create challenges to our roads and our safety, but trucks would drive on specialized corridors. They'd be amongst themselves, so they wouldn't apply those same challenges to the rest of us. Trucks pollute, but electrical power can be used from sustainable sources. And electric motors are much more efficient than our diesel motors. And trucking companies don't have enough drivers, but if these autonomous trucks are out there, they don't require drivers. Maybe they will at first, but over time we wouldn't need these drivers, at least as much. And autonomous trucks are not yet approved to drive with other humans, not that big of a deal. Robots are great at driving with robots. And traffic-related delays are costly, but these delays, these trucks can drive continuously. They don't have to stop. They don't have to deal with traffic. So I know the question out there. The question I had, the question my wife had when I pitched this to her for the first time, are these truck drivers going to still have jobs? Sure they are. These truck drivers are going to drive locally. This ATC is for the main highways. They can drive locally. They can make these deliveries. Once they exit, the truck can pull off and they can jump inside of it and take it from there. They can sleep at home. They can work more regular hours. What's it going to cost? Well, it's going to cost about 1.5 to 2 times traditional construction, is what the calcs show. That means about $10 million per mile for urban and about $5 million a mile for rural type applications. So how are we going to ever fund this? Well, we estimate a 25% savings. That's 40 cents per mile. And that'd be while decreasing the delivery time by about a factor of 2. And the further you have to deliver, the further you have to go, that delivery time is going to be knocked down that much more. So what is that worth? Somebody like Amazon or Walmart, I think quite a bit. So if we take that 40 cents a mile, and if we just ask for 25 cents of it back in tolls, they still get to keep the rest. And if we did that for 75% of the nation's truck, this is not Florida focused right now, this is nation focused right now, that would generate $30 billion per year. That's more than 30% of what the US currently spends on highways. This could build itself, fund itself, and then fund other projects in the future. So where should this be located? Well, it's going to be easier to add this to lanes on existing highways, or if you've already got a plan for MCORs and you've already got a plan, this is how it would fit into that. These roads are already have adjacent lands or right of way typically for expansion. What am I talking about? I'm talking about something like this. If you have a open area in the center, then you could put the ATC right there. It would look something like this in cartoon version, where you have existing roads on the outside, put the ATC there in the center. Wouldn't have to look that way though. You could have existing roads here, and then you can move the ATC to the outsides, or the ATC could be its own system by itself. You can do that if you want, if you got the space. So what do you do at a city? Well, if this ATC would come to a city, it would bypass it. Would go around it. You would have a single corridor that comes in and out of that city. So that's something that you don't have to tear the whole city up to make it happen. So I know, no. Why don't we just use trains? I mean, trains are awesome. They are amazing point-to-point hauling machines. Why don't we just use trains for all this stuff? I'll tell you, the big challenge with the train is their tracks and routes are inflexible. The other thing is when a single car stops, all the car stops. Trains have a fundamental flaw. You don't understand what I'm saying? Like this. If I have a train and I want to get something out of this car right here, then that train has to stop. I have to get something out of that car, and the train has to get going. I have to do a whole lot of cars at once. But in the ATC, that doesn't have to happen. If I need to get something out of this vehicle needs to pull off the road, it does so. It pulls off at an exit. It does its thing. All the other ones just speed up, and another vehicle comes in its place. I mean, this is powerful. This is like the next generation train. I mean, this can be unbelievable. So resiliency corridors is the last thing that I'm going to talk about. And this is why this is a good mesh with Jim. This is a way to get people in and out of these places really, really rapidly. We can get people out quickly. We can get emergency equipment, vehicles, materials, whatever in quickly. This is a big, big advantage of the ATC. So again, the day before something is a breakthrough, it is an absolutely crazy idea. I hope I've tried to convince you today that this stuff is possible. If the vision is big enough, we can make this happen, just like Kennedy did in the past. But we have a different challenge. Kennedy was talking about the Russians. We're talking much, much, much more about the Chinese today. So we and people are concerned about it. Whoever between our two companies or our two countries automates their delivery system is going to be the one that ultimately becomes the world power or win between one another. And China is working hard on this. They're already automating their trucks and their cranes at their ports. And there's a concern that if they do this before us enough, they're going to get the economic advantage. And just to show you, here's our gross domestic products, China versus United States. Here is the rankings, and this is before pre-COVID. Their growth rate is 30% higher than the United States. That's pre-COVID. They're working on this now. This is something we need to be aware of. We need to think about. It's not too late. We can make this happen, but we need somebody with a big idea. And I love what Florida's doing. I think you've got big ideas, and I think the ATC could fit in with this big idea. That's what MCORs could be. That's what it could be all about. We just need to put the ATC in there. We need to get some kind of way to handle these trucks. So ultimately, there are so many advantages of this. We could create money for MCORs. We could reduce your traffic. We can improve your safety. We can improve your sustainability, and we can make your roads last a lot longer. Think about it. If you take these vehicles, these big, heavy vehicles, put them on a specialized design road for them, you could run all these other vehicles on much lower design roads, or they could last so much longer. So in conclusion, the ATC, I think, can be a transformative change to our nation's infrastructure. It can simultaneously solve major problems in our economy, safety, environment, roadways, trucking, autonomous vehicle industry, and I think it can provide funds to sustain itself. This is going to be a long journey, okay, but it begins with you. I mean, MCOR, you guys got it. You guys are making it happen. We need everyone to jump in and contribute. And as Amy said, coming up, I've got a YouTube channel. You should check it out if you got a little bit of time. youtube.com/Tyler Lay. Please, please, please don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave a comment. I've got several videos about the ATC. I've got a lot of other videos about concrete, about pavements, about other things you want to know about. You can reach out to me at the top as well. Thank you so much for having me. Thank you, Florida. Please continue being awesome. Push MCORs. Let's make it happen. Let's just get the ATC to be part of it.